Okay, I am going to get started. My name is Amanda Rada, and I teach math and computer science at the Washington State School for the Blind. All of my students are blind or low vision, and that's kind of where I come from at this point. This is year 11, teaching students who are blind and low vision. Before we get started, I would like to start with a land acknowledgement from where I'm coming from. I am on the Cowlitz tribe lands, and I thank them for their stewardship of this land and am grateful for the ability to be here. So I encourage everyone to know the people that owned your land before you, um, and learn a little bit about the history of those peoples who were here before definitely any of my ancestors were here. So on that note, we're going to hop off here, or hop right onto the presentation. I do teach math and computer science, grades 6 through 12. Before I started teaching blind and low vision, I taught students with severe behavioral and emotional disorders for 5 years. And that through those 5 years was K-12. So I've taught just about every subject at just about every grade at some point in the last, 16 years. So the last 11 have been mostly math and computer science. I do have computer science certification as well as my teacher of the visually impaired certification. And I need to sit down and actually take the test to be math certified. Just haven't made that step yet. All right. So, let's see if I can get the screen to advance. Yay. All right. So I teach blind and low vision students, and I often get, wait, what? Yes, people with visual impairments can and do use computers and all technology. They access through screen readers, which are software that just reads the text on the screen. Most commonly known as VoiceOver. Lots of people use that on their iOS devices, and it'll, it's not Siri in and of itself, but it works with Siri to read what's on the screen. The other commonly used screen readers are Narrator, which comes with your Windows devices, JAWS, which is a paid program, very expensive actually, and then NVDA, which is a free open source screen reader. There are several others. Chrome uses TalkBack. No, that's Android uses TalkBack. Chrome uses Google Vox, I think is what it's called, or Chrome Vox. I don't use that one, obviously. Not one I'm very familiar with. So what that technology does is just reads text. That's all it's able to do. It can't interpret pictures. It can't, in and of itself, fix errors. It reads what's there. Okay? So that is how they access the technology. But there are problems with a lot of our most popular computer science curriculums right now. Because computer science is such a quickly growing field, and many of the curriculums target teachers who are not computer science, classically trained computer science teachers. They're targeting the teachers who are the math teacher who's asked to now teach computer science, or the English teacher, or the art teacher, or whomever, right? You're now asked to go teach that computer science class. So the curriculums are designed to kind of teach the teacher while teaching the kid. Those curriculums most of them, are not accessible via a screen reader. Um, One of the most common ones is using code.org, which is the block languages that you drag and drop. That drag and drop feature is not accessible with a screen reader. Now, I do have that most in an asterisk as a highlight there. There is work being done to make block languages accessible. It's a slow process. It's not there yet. Okay. Oh, I got a typo. Many text-based curriculums use picture-based puzzles to teach concepts. So if you're teaching the idea of an algorithm, you'll have the puzzle of get from point A to point B by moving forward. So you've got a picture and you've got to like navigate the maze basically using programming while you're doing that. That picture is a barrier for a student who is blind or low vision. Other text-based curriculums, the IDE that you actually type your code into is inaccessible. You can't just type and have the screen reader read it. I do not know the technology behind it, so I'm not even going to pretend to give you a reason or an example here. It just doesn't work. Some of them work sometimes, some of them work other times. You can't just make it work 100% of the time out of the box. Okay? And then there are other curriculums that rely on visual cues to access your lessons. Things just are not labeled. So those are problems with our current, most common computer science and really the programming sides of those curriculums. Solutions. It's pretty easy. Short list here. Don't use block-based languages. This solution is much easier said than done. If you're working with young students, if you're working with students who can't read, if you're those blocks break down that language barrier for those students. They make the high level language more accessible at that level, right? So you've got this intellectual accessibility that the block languages provide, but then they block the visual accessibility. So there's a tear there, right? Or there's a difference there, right? And this is some groups that I work with are working on getting block-based languages to work with screen readers. Okay. Another solution is to teach skills through building projects, not solving pre-made puzzles. So the site that the two curriculums I'm most comfortable with are code.org and CodeHS. Okay. And if you go into their hour of code, you go into their kind of base level programming lessons, that's those puzzles. Get through the maze, collect all the seeds, those kinds of tasks. But if you look at some of their upper level programming classes, or even their AP CSP, which is AP, so Advanced Placement, it's the College Board class, Computer Science Principles, it doesn't start with follow the maze and put the blocks in order. It starts with, here's a program, play with it, see what it does, and now change things in the code to see how things change. That can be accessible much easier than the puzzles can be made accessible. So that's build the project, build code, build an app, use a MIDI library to write a song, those kinds of things, instead of solving a puzzle. Okay, and then you can also use the command line and accessible IDEs with your curriculum. And please, if anybody has any questions, throw them into the chat for me. Happy to answer questions while I'm talking. Now, here are the but what about this solutions? What about having a partner read the screen and type for them? My reaction to that is that what will happen in the, quote unquote real world? If you're blind, low vision, and you get a job, are you going to have a buddy sitting there doing your job for you while you talk? Probably not. Yes, there's pair programming. Yes, there's collaboration in most industries. But that's not really a viable solution. Okay. What about using an embosser or a 3D printer to make the puzzle and blocks? This is a really great solution for everyone in the class. If everyone in the class is being pulled off the computer and doing it as, they call it the unplugged lessons, and you've got, let me step back a second here. I forgot to say what an embosser was. If you don't know, an embosser is basically a Braille printer. It uses the paper it uses Braille paper, which is thick like cardstock, and it has 2 lines of it's like the really old paper where everything was connected, and it had the strips on the sides with all the little holes. That's how Braille paper comes in, so that it feeds page after page. And the embosser has a head with metal dots that just bam, 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 bam across the page to make the Braille dots. So that's an embosser. Okay, so you can emboss the picture or 3D print the puzzle pieces and the blocks. That's a great solution. But if you're going to do that, it needs to be everyone in the class participating that way, not just the 1 or 2 blind low vision students or the blind student and their partner, because that separate is not equal, right? We learned that years and years and years ago. So it is a great solution for intro, basic building of concepts. If you want to use those puzzles and have them learn skills, or if you have younger students, that unplugged, that separate activity, it does work. Just make sure everyone is doing it. What about excusing them from visual content? Well, again, there's no reason why they can't produce visual content and why that content can't be made to be accessible. And get to it in 2 or 3 slides here. The programming language that I use and that I am on the curriculum committee for has visual content, and it is accessible. Okay, so just saying, oh, you can do everything except the picture. It's not equitable. It's not fair. It's not giving that child the same access to those materials, those experiences, that curriculum. And the last one, what about having them take a separate class? Okay, I put that there, and I don't want to shame anyone, but again, separate is not equal, right? I teach at a separate school, and I have problems with that in my own thoughts on many, many days that I teach to a classroom full of blind and low vision students. They are in a whole separate school, not even just a whole separate class. So there has to be a balance here of what they are gaining from being with me. And that gain has to be much higher than what they are losing from not being with their like peers in their home school districts. Okay. That is, in my opinion, last choice, right? Okay, moving on. Things I found. Okay, so as I said, I work with the Quorum language, which is quorumlanguage.com. It has accessible curriculum with online IDEs that are accessible. So just like when you're on code.org and you're doing the code and you hit run and you can see it right there, Quorum has that. It doesn't have the bells and whistles of a teacher account, a student account, self-checking, those kinds of things. We're working on it. But the Quorum team has 2 full-time employees. One is a professor at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, Andy Stefik. And he has, through grants, a full-time programmer that works for him. Everybody else is a grad student or an undergrad student, either getting paid through credit or whatever grant money might exist. My whole curriculum committee team is volunteers of teachers. So it's a very small team. It's just not there yet. The Quorum language has been around now, I want to say 12 years, something like that. It's getting to the point where the exact year is a little fuzzy in everybody's mind. Quorumlanguage.com. It's all accessible curriculum. You can run it online. It has a separate downloadable software IDE called Quorum Studio that is completely accessible with a screen reader. It also does large print. That curriculum has multiple tracks to learn through. There's a robotics track. There's the full AP-CSP track that mirrors Code.org's track. It is approved by the College Board. I teach it. There's also just kind of a basics track. It's not quite as much fun. There's one that will teach you things through audio and through games. So it's a lot of options on that website. And it's not just for blind, low vision. The team is working to make sure things are accessible for students with learning disabilities, as well as for students with other sensory impairments, such as deaf, hard of hearing. People in those fields are helping to boost the quality of the curriculum with those sides too. Another great resource is Khan Academy. I love Khan Academy for so many things. Their computer science tracks are mostly accessible. There's very few things that a screen reader can't access on Khan Academy. And the ones it can't, it's like the questions that require a drag and drop. And they've been very, very receptive when I've hit those questions. I email them and go, hey, did you realize this didn't work? And they've changed things. So they're very, very receptive. And then using a textbook-based class with an accessible IDE. So instead of those canned online curriculums that are inaccessible, using just a textbook like everybody did before code.org existed, right? And then I have 3 accessible IDEs there. Repellent, I think is how you say it, Visual Studio Code, and Eclipse all work fairly well with a screen reader and are all things that everyone in your class could use together. So it's not something that is, again, the blind kid sits over in the corner and does it with this device while everybody else does it with these things. It lets it be integrated. And now I have please ask questions. But I have a very small crowd, so I don't know what kind of questions we're going to have. I'm also going to attempt to get the computer to let me show you Quorum Studio running. I don't know how well that's going to work, so that's why I said attempt. So if anybody has questions right now while I'm attempting to get that to get up and running, be a great time for them. I'm just thinking about running right now. Quorum Studio is quite the memory hog, and then you put that on top of the web browser running and everything else running. Yeah, it's thinking about it. These are good signs. Good signs here. I like showing off Quorum Studio because it's a lot of fun. It has... I do, Jennifer. The LIFT program is slightly different than our program. It's on our campus. So Jennifer put in chat, do I have connections with the LIFT program? It's on our campus, but it's not run by like us, the teachers. It is run by a separate person, but I do have contacts with them. It's a great program. The LIFT program is for students who have graduated high school, students who are blind or low vision who have graduated high school, and want that like transition support between high school and the quote unquote real world, adulthood, those kinds of things. They live on our campus, but in a separate building. So they're not with our middle schools and high schoolers at all. They have their own building, which we're actually building a whole new facility for LIFT, which is very exciting. But they live in apartment-style rooms in another building with a communal kitchen. They are expected to either have jobs or go to school. It's the two main objectives. And then while they are living there, there are some like residential life counselors. There's adults in the building to help them with learning those independent skills like cooking and cleaning, and just some of the things that they may not have picked up either from their family or just in school itself. Many of the students in LIFT go to Clark College, which is literally across the street from the school. And they take classes there. And the disability support services over at Clark is very used to blind, low vision students and give the kids some pretty good support. So, yeah, that's some stuff with the LIFT program. I unfortunately don't get to teach those kids. It's just not the way it's set up. Okay, now I'm going to attempt to flip my screen over to a different program, and we're going to see what happens here. Oh, that just stopped sharing screen. All right. Entire screen. Oh, this is going to... Yep. All right. We're going to try it. Entire screen. Share. You can now see everything. Ooh, screen Inception going on. Excellent. My favorite. Now. Okay, I've got a little menu here. All right, I can see myself. Perfect. Okay. I wonder. All right, I can no longer see chat, so I will periodically pop up this little box. I can stare at chat. All right, cool. Hey, we learned how to do a thing today, folks. Good job. So what I have up on my screen is Quorum Studio, and everything is screen reader accessible. I don't have one on my personal laptop, which is what I'm running off of today. And quite honestly, I'm not sure if it could handle all those things running at the same time right now. But JAWS and NVDA both work really well with Quorum Studio. I have up here in on the left of my screen, there's a column of any projects you have open. The right side of the screen has your code kind of to the top, and at the bottom there is the console, errors, smattering of things you might need while working. There are menu ribbons and icons at the top of the screen that you hop to with all of your standard key commands. So one of the, let's see, what the projects I happen to have open right now are from the AP CSP curriculum. And these are adaptations of widgets in the code.org curriculum. Okay, so I did not write these. Whew, that's a lot of work for these. But if I run my code here, hit Control R and it runs, I have a window pop up. And this game here that popped up is an app that code.org also has. So it's a pet rock, and you click him and he does things. I'm not entirely sure. Oh, you click the rock itself and you can do things. Oh, I clicked him 5 times and now he's happy. Oh, see, now he's a buddy. He's upgraded. I'm going to upgrade again. And now he's Rock-a-Walk Rainbow Evolution Complete. So it's just a fun little game, clicker game that they've got. The idea is that students would play, they'd run their code and they'd play with this a little bit, and then they read through the actual code for this app. So the cool thing with the Quorum language is that it's fairly intuitive. If you just read what things are, I'm going to start here at line 15. Label directions equals create label. Well, if I were a novice, I'm pretty sure I would understand the words create label, right? And then I have something here that says directions, set name, and it has directions. Okay, that's cool. And now I have directions, set text, and there's a whole bunch of text. Well, when I ran my game, that's the same text that was at the top of my screen. So now I can compare the fact that I see the same text to what's written right here. And this is the way that code.org teaches this lesson as well. But what we've done is, instead of the blocks that the student can't interact with, or even when you toggle their blocks to text, they've got that IDE that just does not work. It doesn't go through. The student can access this and can use all of these same features. And all of your students can do it. It's not just your blind low vision kid. Let's go back over to that for a second. The other kind of cool things that Quorum Studio can do. No, go away. Actually, yeah, let's open that. So I have a project here that I'm opening that I had some students last year make. It was 2 students. They made this project in 1 semester, meeting with me a half hour a week, twice a week. And they've made this little trademark Zelda-esque video game that I just picked up a skull, and in my thing it says, "You've reached the wall of death. Do you dare touch it? This is your final warning. It has been activated." And now the person bounces out of the screen because we found a bug, and we wanted to try and make sure that the bug wouldn't happen again. You grab a sword and it disappears, and you grab a chest and you get a key, and you grab a potion bottle and you get money. You come up here to, now their game is not fully accessible, but the building of the game was. You come up here to this fountain, and another fountain opens, and it's talking to you down below in the console because, well, student ability, they just never quite got to finishing their game. So that was just a basic platformer that they were able to make, and they made it with a scene editor that allowed them to drag and drop tiles. And all of this is accessible Go to the 2D guys down here. You've got all kinds of things that they can just click on and choose. And they built this scene by dragging and dropping, or by clicking and arrowing around and dropping it. So it's very similar to many of the tools that other students can use, that any students can use. And so this is work students did last year for me. And then over the summer, oh, I don't think this is going to work. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. I have crashed the Quorum Studio. It happens sometimes. We love technology, don't we, folks? Yep. Close the program. Yay, screen Inception going on. Okay, let's stop that for a minute. We'll just look at me for a second. So I killed it. We're going to bring it back up. Restart Quorum while I'm talking to you. The next thing I want to show you is that this last summer, Quorum upgraded to add 3D game design, and it is accessible with a screen reader. You can do it all with key commands, all with the keyboard. Part of what makes it accessible is that in the background, all of the images have already been described. So the images that were just up on the screen of the tile, of the rock floor, the potion bottle, and those kinds of things, when I navigate to look at them, the screen reader says what they are and what they look like. So that's part of making it accessible. Looks like Quorum Studio started back up for me, so let's try this again. Okay, we're going to have screen Inception here. All right, flipped over fast enough. Great. So, file, open project. Okay, let's just do 3D test game. There, it'll have something on it. Yay, 3D test game on the left here. Go down to my source code. And I run it. Oh yeah, this was so 3D is hard. Okay, 3D is hard. So this was me attempting to build a fenced-in corral. I was going to do a Western game. I gave up, and that was just because I didn't want to fight with how to put all of these silly little images together. So the bottom left of my screen, I have the front and parts of both sides of a corral and some of the back with some old style, wooden fencing. But let's go to the fun part of it. If I go to my scene and I say, yes, it's a 3D scene, I can go to that same palette and I have all kinds of, the basics are boring. So I have all kinds of items I can add to my scene. And see, I've added a road now that's a curve, and I can add another curve here, and then I can come over to its properties window and I can rotate it. And I'm gonna do it wrong because I always do. You've got your X, Y, and Z rotation, and the math teacher is awful at X, Y, Z rotation. So we're gonna play with it here because it's fun. Right down just then. So. And we're going to go over here. We're going to see if this one turns. Excellent. And now I have a very curvy road. I don't know, maybe I'm doing Mario Kart. You can put in like skyrise here. Oh, right there. So yeah, you've got all these things that you can add, and then the student can manipulate your position, the name of it, all of the things in the object window here. So you don't have to be able to see the screen. You can use the math skills to design your scene, your background, your game design. That was newly added this summer to the quorum language and is a lot of fun. It's not currently part of the CSP curriculum because that's not how code.org is written, and our CSP curriculum just mirrors code.org. Working on it. Lots of things to work on. So let me hop back over here, find the thing. I'm going to stop sharing and go back. Yay! Excellent. So that's for middle school and high school level quorum language. If you have elementary level students or students who just really need some of those basics first, I use, and even my high schoolers love it, it's Code and Go Mouse. It's a kindergarten level learning resources. You get green tiles and this little mouse that you program with forward, back, turn right, turn left, and go. And it does the thing. And you go find the cheese in the maze. And when the nose touches the cheese, it makes a noise. It's for little kids, but let me tell you how excited my 16-year-olds get when that mouse touches the cheese and goes, li. They think it is just absolutely amazing. They also think stickers are amazing. So, that's cool. We're good with that, right? Yeah. What other questions, comments, concerns might we have about accessible programming? I saw that some people were popping in and out, so you might have missed some of the beginning. If you've got any comments at all, please put them in the chat, because, well, I'm used to interacting with people, not just presenting. I like interactive presentations. No, nothing. Y'all are gonna leave me hanging? So I have my please ask questions, and then the next slide is my contact information. I am happy to help answer questions, troubleshoot specifics. My email is amanda.rada@wssb.wa.gov. My cell phone and my Twitter. On Twitter, for the most part, I just reblog everybody else's really cool, accessible information. I do not put up my own novel content very often. Thanks, Jennifer. Appreciate you coming in and hanging out with me. It says there are more people in existence in this room, but you're the only one who's been talking, but I appreciate it. Other fun things I've done with students, besides the Code and Go mouse, are robots. Quorum does link to EV3, which I know Lego is getting rid of. And if you didn't know that, Lego is getting rid of the EV3 robots. They are replacing it with Spike, and we are looking into how to help make that accessible as well, because I know robotics is a great way to get kids excited about the programming process. It's that instant gratification and that instant feedback, right? Did it work? You can just hit run and see it go do the thing, usually with very few lines of code and very few commands. So robotics are great for that hook for students, getting them interested in things. I've used Sphero with some success with my low vision students. Spike is a totally new platform. The buttons and everything look very similar to the EV3, but it is a completely different OS, basically. It's really brightly colored, which is kind of cool. I like the look of it, but it does not work with what we've previously used for Quorum for EV3. You can, I believe, please don't quote me on this one. I know with the EV3 you could use like, what did they call it? Like Lego C or something like that. Lego has a text code that you can use for like the older levels of the Lego Leagues. I think Spike has that ability too, but again, there's that text reading issue for some students, right? So yeah, Spike is brand new, does not use the exact same. The buttons and the code look very similar, but in the background, it is a new language, basically. I also have used MBots in class. They're like MakeBot, I think is the full name of them, and they're really neat. They're not snapped together. They're actually screw together little pieces, and you can they run off of Arduino, so you can use them with TextBase and load it in. I did that. It also has its own block language, but I did that last year with a student. He actually did it as a independent study, elective credit. So that those are ones you can use, robots you can use. Thank you. Couple minutes left, but if there aren't any more questions, I'm okay with that. Again, my contact is on the screen. I assume contact will be posted other places as well. Not entirely sure about that one. Yeah.